From an aspiring playwright to the first woman to host her own variety show, Carol Burnett has been a trailblazer, a comedic genius, and a feminist icon. At 91 years old, she's still breaking ground as the oldest woman to be nominated for a Comedy Acting Emmy in 2024. A 7-time Emmy winner already, Burnett has been entertaining audiences since the 1960s with her blend of physical comedy, musical talent, and a signature tug of the ear. I'll explain more about that in just a moment. But first, I want to thank you all for your ongoing support of this podcast. By giving this podcast a thumbs up, 5 stars, or hitting subscribe on YouTube, you're helping others to find us. I'd sure appreciate your support also by using the support button on my website at herstancepodcast.buzzsprout.com. If you love social media, follow my Instagram or Facebook at Her Stance with Sandra. There you can use the Linktree link to get digital products and sign up for my monthly newsletter. This community, this movement is growing, and together we are taking the vision, the passion, and the hard-fought battles won by the women featured on Her Stance into the 21st century and beyond. Find all the research links in the show notes, including the links to the outstanding tools I use to produce this podcast, and make waves with us. Now, more about Carol Burnett. For many women who grew up watching television in the 1960s and 70s, Carol Burnett was a true role model. I know she was for me personally. In an era when most women on TV were relegated to playing a wife or a girlfriend, Burnett was a leading lady. Her iconic variety show, The Carol Burnett Show, ran for an incredible 11 seasons and won 25 Emmys, 3 of which were for Outstanding Variety Show. She wasn't afraid to be silly, goofy, and physical, yet she could also be glamorous and sing beautifully. This duality captivated audiences and proved that women could be funny and feminine at the same time. Burnett's early life story is a testament to her drive and resilience. Born in San Antonio, Texas in 1933, raised by her grandmother in Hollywood after her parents divorced, she was an aspiring playwright who studied theater arts at UCLA. But she had bigger dreams. She left college and moved to New York City to pursue a career in acting, with only a few early TV appearances under her belt. When she landed a 10-year contract with CBS, the network offered her an hour-long variety show. In a now famous story, Burnett recounts how network executives first tried to steer her toward a sitcom, telling her that comedy variety is a man's game. Well, she proved them spectacularly wrong. The Carol Burnett Show was an innovative format which included memorable segments where she would engage in lively questions and answers with her live audiences, setting the stage for the comedic skits that followed. The show was noted for its range of characters and humorous narratives, showcasing Burnett's remarkable talent and expressive face. I encourage you to look up episodes and shorts on YouTube. I'll put a few most memorable to me in the show notes. One might ask where she got all her material. Well, one of her regular characters, Eunice, had a lot of her mother in her. Her mother always thought that if only, and I could have, and I should have. And it was always, if this hadn't happened, or in regard to Nanny, which is the name that Carol gave to her grandmother, if you hadn't rained on my dreams. Well, Carol's humor was born out of a pretty difficult childhood. Both of her parents were alcoholics. And for a long time, she thought it was her fault, or she could fix it. So many children of alcoholics or addicts are prone to think this way. Her grandmother, Nanny, was practically destitute, even though she took on Carol and her sister. But the one indulgence she allowed was going to the movies. Carol saw there that regardless of your circumstances, everything's possible. You could be happy. Well, her parents never got to see her success. They died young. But her grandmother, Nanny, always got that ear tug at the end of her TV show to say hello and express her gratitude. One of the most inspiring aspects of Carol Burnett's career is her unwavering commitment to lifting up other women. In fact, it was an imperative. You see, Burnett was thrilled when she was accepted to UCLA after graduating high school. But she was crushed when she had no way to raise the $50 tuition. And then an envelope showed up in her mailbox containing that exact amount. And she never knew who it was that changed her life. And while attending UCLA, she gravitated toward theater and eventually began dreaming of Broadway. Yet, money still remained a problem. Everything changed when, after a performance with her fellow students, she was approached by a husband and wife who had just watched her perform. When she told them she hoped to go to New York, he offered both Burnett and her boyfriend $1,000 interest-free loans to fund their move. But there were conditions attached. They must pay him back within 5 years. If they became successful, they would promise to similarly help out other struggling young performers. And most importantly, they must never reveal his identity. Burnett had told an interviewer years ago that, quote, somebody had helped him get his start in this country, so he was paying it forward. Well, that's exactly what she has done all of her life. She became involved in women's issues early on, advocating for equal pay in a way that was both bold and humorous. More recently, she recounted trying to rally fellow celebrities for the cause. And one male star told her that he wouldn't support it because it would mean, quote, all the women are going to start smoking cigars. And Burnett's response perfectly captured the absurdity of the argument. She said, okay, they could smoke cigars now. We're not stopping them if they want to light up. Burnett's philosophy of empowering others goes back to her early days in New York City. She lived at the Rehearsal Club, a residential home for women pursuing careers in show business. That club was a place of camaraderie and support. Also, a place where Burnett and other aspiring actresses shared an audition dress bought for $5. Can you imagine? And when they couldn't get auditions without an agent and couldn't land an agent without a role, Burnett came up with a bold plan. She organized the 25 women in the club to write and perform their own show. They sent postcards to every agent and director in town that read, "You're always saying, let us know when you're in something. We're in something. This postcard is your ticket. Please come." Well, the plan worked, and Burnett was one of 3 women who landed an agent. This story perfectly illustrates her belief that lifting up others doesn't threaten your own success. It creates more success for everyone. Well, beyond her groundbreaking variety show, Burnett has had a prolific career in film, television, and on Broadway. She has appeared in movies like Annie and The Front Page and had memorable television roles on shows like Desperate Housewives and Better Call Saul. On the stage, she starred in productions like Once Upon a Mattress and Moon Over Buffalo, and recently just wrapped up Palm Royale. And everyone who acts with her gains so much from the experience. Her legacy also extends far beyond her on-screen work. She's a 3-time author, and Burnett's memoir, Carrie and Me, a mother-daughter love story, is a deeply personal account of her daughter's life. And her own autobiography, One More Time, was adapted into a Broadway play she co-wrote with her late daughter, Carrie. In fact, 2 of her daughters, one of them being Carrie, struggled with addictions. Carrie had become an addict at 13 years old. And Carol finally got her into her final rehab by 17 years old, stating, quote, "I put her in a 3rd rehab place, and oh my God, she hated me. I came to the conclusion that I had to love her enough to let her hate me." Well, years later, they did make amends and worked together for years. But tragically, her daughter died of lung cancer that had metastasized to her brain at age 38. But here's the thing. As Burnett explained in an interview with Fox News, she had learned a valuable lesson about life by watching her daughter in her final days. Quote, "When she was in the hospital the last time, one of the nurses came up to me in the hall and said, 'Carrie just cheers us up when we go in the room.' And I asked Carrie, 'How can you be up and so cheerful?' And Carrie said, 'Every day I wake up and decide today I'm going to love my life,'" said Burnett. This is the way Carol comes across as well. Some have said her middle names should be Joy and Hope. And she has been shown some prestigious recognition for bringing widespread hope and joy to this country. A recipient of numerous awards, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom and the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor, Carol Burnett is a legend who redefined what it meant to be a woman in comedy. Her philosophy of lifting others up and having fun is a testament to her enduring optimism and is a wonderful example for us all. You've reached the Her Stance Challenge. In these troubled political and economic times that we're facing today, we might find ourselves wanting to curse someone or ask, "Why me?" or place blame, or even curl up in a ball and feel hopeless. But I bring you Carol Burnett as an example of a different way to move through the world. Everything is possible. You can be happy. We can decide that today we're going to love our lives and see what we can make of it. So here are 3 challenges inspired by our highlight of Carol Burnett today. The first one I call the Our Turn Challenge. See, Carol Burnett's motto for handling rejection was, "It wasn't my turn, it was her turn." This is a powerful perspective that replaces jealousy and disappointment with hope and solidarity. The Our Turn Challenge asks you to practice this philosophy in your own life for 1 week. When a friend, colleague, or even a public figure that you admire gets a promotion, an award, or a success that you might have wanted, resist the urge to feel envy. Instead, say to yourself, or even better, to them, "It was their turn, and my turn is coming." Take a moment to genuinely celebrate their success and recognize that their win doesn't diminish your potential. Why does it matter? In a world that often pits women against each other, this challenge fosters a spirit of collaboration and mutual support, just like the women at the rehearsal club. It's an act of mental and emotional activism that promotes a more positive and empowering community. The second challenge is the Hour Postcard Challenge. Inspired by Burnett and her friends renting out a concert hall to create their own opportunity, this challenge is about taking matters into your own hands when you feel stuck or overlooked. Identify a problem, a need, or a community cause that you care about. Instead of waiting for someone else to fix it, find 2 or 3 friends who share your passion. Work together to plan a small-scale, creative action to bring attention to your cause or create a solution. It could be a fundraising bake sale, a social media campaign to highlight an issue, a community cleanup, or even a local petition drive. Document your process and share your postcard to the world, just as Burnett and her friends did. Why does it matter? Well, this challenge embodies the everything is possible philosophy. It's a reminder that we don't need permission or a big platform to make a difference. Collective action, no matter how small, can lead to powerful change. And finally, the Cigar Smoking Woman Challenge. You see, Carol Burnett's anecdote about the man who thought equal pay would lead to women smoking cigars highlights the absurd and often subtle ways that resistance to progress is framed. The Cigar Smoking Woman Challenge asks you to actively identify and call out a gender stereotype or nonsensical argument against equality that you encounter. For 1 week, be mindful of the media that you consume and the conversations that you have and the arguments that you hear. When you hear someone use a stereotypical or illogical reason to dismiss a woman's rights issue, like maybe she's too emotional to be a leader, or that's not a woman's job, make a mental note. And when you feel that it's safe to do so, politely and calmly challenge it by asking a question like, why do you believe that? Or, what does that have to do with the issue at hand? And here's why it matters. Like Burnett, this challenge is about not letting, quote, the stupidest things you've ever heard go unchallenged. It's an act of everyday activism that pushes back against the subtle misogyny and ridiculous arguments that hold women back. It's a fun and funny way to be a feminist. You've been enjoying Her Stance podcast, written, produced, and hosted by me, Sandra Cayley. You could follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Her Stance with Sandra. And there you will find my Linktree link to sign up for digital products, my newsletter, and more. Support me in the mission of Her Stance at the support button at the podcast website, herstancepodcast.buzzsprout.com. Until next time, keep smiling and have fun.